it resonates.
No, that's for sure. That's for sure. We'll see where. I wonder like what they got planned next. What they have planned next.
Yeah. And I don't know the answer to it, but like, yeah, do they, like, if they were talking to other teams and groups, like, does that like loss kind of like hit you, like, other teams are not really interested in fucking with you right now?
Yeah, like, is it like boxing? Like,
yeah,
you want to try to stay undefeated to get to the top guys?
Yeah. Boxing.
Do you see us?
Yeah, we're up there.
All right, cool. Let's hit record. You miss a weekend. Get a little rusty, man.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
It's tough, man. You gotta hold your form together.
Yeah, you coming?
Nah, man, I ain't going.
Why not?
My shoe's busted.
What are you talking about?
I said my shoe is busted, man.
Stop playing. What do you mean? I just seen your shoes.
I know, man, but you gotta understand they busted. They busted.
What? Yeah, get the fuck out of the car. What's going on?
All right, man, I'm gonna get out, man, but I told you they busted, bro.
Oh, shit!
I told you, man.
What the fuck? Nigga, we got a video to shoot.
I told you, dog.
Yo, look at this. Yo. You got your Crocs? You got your Crocs on you?
Yeah, man, I do. But I can't shoot no cop.
Why not?
Who's shooting cop?
Lil Russell shoots in Crocs. You know who Lil Russell?
Right. Russell does shooting crop.
That's my guy.
I'm shooting at crop.
Where your tag at, nigga?
Yeah. This is how to make my ears pop. Killing shit with no teardrops. A lot of niggas just appear hot. The same difference between a guard and a real cop. Blowing smoke till it's real fire. Yes, mixture, goat rhymes, flows of all kinda. Feed me paper like bonders. Riding dirty, had to Photoshop the binder. Daily reminder. It's a part of my story. I was looking at it yesterday. I was like, yo, this is crazy.
Because it's always, you know what, you got a daily reminder of how precious life is.
Nice. I'm
Daily
blessed.
reminder.
I'm actually blessed to be here.
Like you blessed to have foot pain, you know?
Foot pain. The 30th is coming up. That's the 2-year anniversary of me almost losing my life. What I'm here for, I'm praising God like Yolanda. Amen. Shall I proceed in the draft to the pro league? Cause score and play goalie, no one can hold me. God chose me in the field like holy. Get respect from OGs and they don't even know me, but know that I am so me. Yeah. Ain't no question about my character, keep balls like Attica. If I subtract you, I ain't mad at you, we wasn't adding up. Circle smaller than the toe ring, ain't no room for passengers. Took the stairs, now we sliding on the gold banisters. So much install like canisters, I'm not no amateur. I've been humble for too long, it's time I do them scandalous. Even Olivia can't handle this. I went through all these storms and kept the candle lit. She did things to hurt me deep, like where the mantle is. The spectrum of my
I know what the call is there. You can
Alright, fuck it. I got the juice like that tuck it. Degeneration, won't hesitate to tell you suck it. Through dedication, I was able to make you love it. This motivation, 101, I'm far from thuggish. Cause what I'm draped in, flamboyant, but I keep it rugged. Move to my own TikTok, grandfather to hip hop. Pioneer like Hitchcock and full control of this plot.
Hey, man.
Hey, you done switched it up?
I did. Hey,
You gotta wear your shoes, man. That's hilarious. I've never seen anything like that. I seen it online, but that was a lot.
okay, brother. Can we be serious for once? Okay, listen. We're talking about that. I felt like it's time I could bring something up that I've been wanting to talk to you about. Can I do that, please? Listen, remember the other day you said, hey, can you go get me a salad and a sub? And you gave me $15. I took the $15, I went to the store. When I went to the register, it was $16.50. I took your $15, but I was short $150. So I spotted the $150. So I figured since we in this whole conundrum, you can take care of this for me? Okay, brother.
What?
I never play with hands, I can never be what I'm not. But hustle till I can sell my breath in the Ziploc. Headed to the tip top. I been on my shit like the pants, watch the heat stop. I been on my shit like the pants, wait till he drop. Yeah. But it's I rap.
Famous. Hey,
Welcome back. You guys are back on the bench podcast with Bubba and Pink, home of sports, music, and mayhem. That was Kadeem featuring, Corey. Corey's in the video. Shout out to Corey. Camp 4, Big Camp. He was on the beat. He produced that. These guys are doing some great work in the city, man, as far as video work and recording and all of that good stuff, man.
I wasn't even paying close enough attention to notice he was on there.
Yeah. He's acting, man. He's
Damn.
doing a good job, man. He might have an opportunity in Hollywood soon.
Hollywood, I like it.
Yeah, so we're back, man. We were off for a week. Apparently, COVID is still ramping the streets here, Central Florida.
Just your street, man. I thought it was like gone like malaria and scurvy and all those other bullshit diseases.
It hit me out of the thin blue sky, but I'm back. I'm feeling good.
Having had it, like, would you rather have COVID or a VD?
COVID.
Okay.
Yeah,
good call.
COVID all day, man.
Solid choice.
I can kick COVID's ass.
But a VD's gonna kick yours.
Not only that, but it's hard to get coochie from a new person if you got any of that.
Yeah,
stuff.
that's tough.
It's hard to explain that.
I had a bad couple minutes.
Don't judge me. But we have a good show as always for you guys. We're going to be talking some big money guys. Mbappe, Jaylen Brown, Kodak. All these guys is making big money these days. We got a new movie alert. They cloned Tyrone. Why would they do that? Bronny James, of course. Patrick Mahomes. A lot of stuff we're going to be talking about today, man. We hit all, On the Bench podcast hits all trending topics in sports, music, entertainment. That's why we call it sports, music, and mayhem.
That's right.
Never know what you're going to get, but it's going to be good, whatever you get.
Is people always ask me, what are you guys going to talk about on the show? And it's hard to say.
It's hard to say, man.
It could go in a lot of directions.
It really can. It really can. And I you know what? I had something on my mind.
You always do, man.
I always do. I typically do. Like to start the show off with something that's been on my mind. And it's actually 2 points that I want to make inside of one experience I had. So while I was bedridden in the bed, didn't have any girls checking up on me. Shame on you guys.
None at all?
Shame on you guys.
This is kind of that. This is kind of that dial-on thing, isn't it?
It's that dial-on? No, it's not. I have moved past that. This is something a little different here, man. I was watching one of my favorite shows is Shark Tank, right? Of all time. One of my favorite shows.
Really?
I love Shark Tank. I really do. And I was watching this particular show, and there was this guy who came on. His dad created Tybo. The Billy,
Billy Blanks.
Billy Blanks.
So his son was on the show.
His son was on the show. Now his son.
I used to do typo actually.
Yeah, it was huge. I mean,
I had the DVDs.
Yeah, this thing hit in what, the 90s, early 2000s, something like that.
Yeah, because my kids were super small, so it really wasn't like a viable thing to say, hey, I'm going to go to the gym for 2 hours. And everyone fend for themselves.
Yeah,
so I actually did it.
It was a huge
good home
phenomenon.
workout.
So you're talking about Billy as a very successful, rich person after that for sure. And so his son is on there, and his son has this dance video type exercise thing that he's doing, right? And his name is Billy Blanks Jr. So anyway, they're on there. They're talking to him. My first point is about Shark Tank, and then the second point is about the guy. Shark Tank I love because, like, a lot of this information I didn't get, growing up, and I didn't get in school. Like, I didn't know shit about, before I watched this show, Shark Tank, I swear, I didn't know anything about P&Ls, profit loss. I didn't know anything about fucking, your margin, when you're selling merchandise, like for example, we're selling shirts, right? You know, what is, you know, what are you getting the shirts for? What is the cost of it? What are you going to sell? All of that, like all of that stuff, simple stuff that you probably should get in the home or should get in the school. I didn't get.
Right.
And a lot of people, you know, growing up in certain situations didn't get that. So I love watching Shark Tank just to get that knowledge, and it's entertaining, right? So that's the first point. The second point about this guy is he's on there, and he's saying how his dad, you know, they asked him about, does his dad support him in this endeavor, because it's kind of in the same lane. And he was saying, well, he started off by saying all family dynamics are sort of different, right? and
Fancy way of saying no.
yeah. And I like how he wouldn't, you never know what's the hell going on, but I like how he didn't trash his dad right there.
Yeah.
I like that. But they kept prying into it. Like, what do you mean? Like, you know, I don't want to ask personal questions, but what do you mean? And he was saying, well, you know, I've been homeless. Me and my wife were homeless. You know, we didn't have any money. We couldn't support ourselves, but we kept this dream alive. And they're like, well, your dad is Billy Blanks. I mean, what are you doing sleeping outside? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And and he couldn't really explain it. And he ended up turning a deal down that was like perfect for him. And the first time ever in the Shark Tank, one of the sharks, which was Damon, after the guy had left the tank, declined the offer, all of that, ran out to go get him and was like, hey, no, you need to take this deal. You know what I mean? Because, you know, I don't know. I just thought that was an awesome moment. But what I took away from that was, like, the relationship that you have, you know, with your parents. And I wonder, like, what the fuck could have happened to have him homeless with
There's
a rich
a
dad?
million things that could have happened. I mean, that's such an open plate. Like, I mean, Billy Blanks was doing the Tybo thing. Like, that had a run that ended. Mm-hmm. You know, it did make it into a it was in Nas, right?
Yeah.
But like, it wasn't like the longest run, and he didn't do anything great after that.
Yeah.
And that money could be gone. I mean, especially if that guy had like a divorce or two and stuff like that. Like, why are you laughing so hard?
Because it's like, that's one of the first things, you know, like a lady could have took all this money.
Yeah, for sure. What else are they going to do? They took some D on the front end, took some money on the back. I mean, come on, we know what this is. But no, I mean, to me, I don't know. Like, I mean, you look at something, and here's the thing, I guess what I'm trying to say. Like, you look at something that we see and feel as successful, but we really don't know what that's like.
Yeah.
Like, we don't, I mean, and what I mean like that is you don't know what the bottom line is on that. Like, he could have not necessarily owned that. Like that way, he could have, you know, to get that off the ground, he could have like got in bed with different investors who actually got more than he did out of it. And it was, to me, a relatively short run that it was. And like, he didn't like capitalize on that and become, you know, do a bunch of other stuff. The other thing is, even when somebody does make some money, you know, they're not just going to sit on it. They're going to invest it. And if they don't invest it well, or things go upside down, you can lose that. You know, the crazy thing, I think, like, if you get to, like, you know, millionaire status, multimillionaire, that's not the rest of your life.
Yeah.
It really isn't. You know, I mean, it's no different than, like, a guy who played in the league for a few years. You know, he got maybe contracts worth $10 million. You talk about taxes, then, like you say, you throw in some, you know, bad investments, and again, like, you look at that whole Tybo thing, like, when it's rising, you're making money, but like, when it starts to fall, like, you don't predict yourself failing. Right. And like, you know, what if your value is the equity of in the industry of Tybo or like whatever the company is that's distributing the videos, and if it's, you know, if you stop selling videos, the value goes down the tubes.
Yeah.
You know, if it's a publicly held company and the perception that the brand isn't any good or it's had its run, the value goes out.
No, that's for sure. And then also because the first thought is, damn, Billy is a shitty father. but also, you know, he could be the son could be the black sheep of the family. Maybe they did try to help him over and over again. Maybe he had a damn drug problem he didn't mention on the show. Like who the hell knows? Like you said, there's a million.
There's a million, and you went to the next place where you can go. Is like, well, what's the deal with the son?
Yeah.
Like, what did this guy do? And like again, if he grew up, you know, thinking the money was endless and dad's super successful and, you know, whatever, probably had a sense of entitlement, probably didn't, thought he was going to be good no matter what. And sometimes it doesn't happen. And like you said, it could be drugs, could be just bad decision making, you know. And as a parent, you know, there's going to be a time in the life with your children that you guys aren't good. Like, you know, it's just a natural thing. As a kid grows up and hits different stages of life, they don't look at you the same way. And a lot of times they resent you over stuff that you don't even realize they resent you over. And it can be very difficult because you're not even sure kind of what the problem is or why they're so mad or angry. And, you know, and sometimes there's nothing you can do about it. And there's a lot of ways that a parent-child dynamic can break down over time. And, that's a real thing too.
No, it is. And once again, you guys are on the bench podcast with Bubba Pink, home of sports, music, and mayhem. We're available on all, and I do mean all, podcast streaming platforms, including here on YouTube. Like, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff.
But I got one more question.
Go ahead.
When the guy from the tank goes and runs him down, did he then accept the deal and have a change of heart?
Yes. He accepted
cool.
the
Okay.
deal, and basically he just didn't understand. Damon was trying to tell him, hey, I have this huge Zumba Connect. You know, this is not a recent show.
Right.
He's like, I have this huge Zumba Connect, and we can get your workout video in that network. And what the guy was thinking was, oh, you want me to play second fiddle to Zumba and want me to come under the umbrella. And he was like, no, I'm literally just saying we can utilize this network that has 10 million people,
right,
you know, actively in Zumba and get your dance videos to them. And he just didn't understand that. But yeah, he took the deal. And actually, I looked it up because there's a thing on Google you can look up, you know, the deals that have happened on Shark Tank and look for an update. Right. And he did well. He became successful off of that deal.
That's cool.
And it's cool.
That is interesting too, because again, like in business, it's like, you know, sometimes you bet on yourself and it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And sometimes you got to let go of a little ego and realize that there's a bigger, broader play in place. And that we talked about it a couple weeks ago. Like, you're defined more by your decisions than your talent,
Yeah.
And that's in business too.
Yeah.
You know, again, if that guy didn't shag him down, like, who knows where that goes?
Yeah.
Maybe he's still homeless to this day.
Yeah, it's not funny, but seriously.
Yeah, he's like sharing a heroin needle with Delonte West.
Oh, shit. Well, speaking of former Celtics, man, I wanted to get to this Jaylen Brown thing. Now, Jaylen Brown just signed a deal. He gets the Supermax. Because he made an All-NBA team and became eligible, and they gave him the absolute most you can offer a player, and now he's the highest-paid player in NBA history.
Wow.
Now, here goes the thing. You look at the social media, you look at these sports shows and things, and they say this. They say this deal is more about the timing. And, you know, Boston really didn't have a choice. And also it's a timing thing as far as, you know, he was eligible for a Supermax at the right time. And he got it, and it's not really, you know, a factor or a huge deal. This is my thing. I am not a fan of paying second, third, fourth, fifth tier guys top tier money. You just can't name me an instance where that has worked out. It always fails. And I don't care about timing. I don't care about, you know, some loophole where the NBA TV deals came in and you can offer this guy X amount of money this year, but next year not. It just doesn't work out, man. Like, and you say, oh, but okay, then the person will leave if you don't pay him. Okay, I mean, that's not the worst thing in the fucking world. You know, Bradley Beal, like that time, like I knew that was going to be an awful decision. I don't care. Leave then. I was bad with you. I'm going to be bad without you. What's
Yeah.
the fucking difference?
Tyler Perry could do bad all by myself.
I can do bad all by myself. That's a bar. And Jalen, although yes, I believe. I mean, he's in the same tier as Bradley Beal, but I believe he's maybe slightly better. I mean, he's a guy that he still struggles to dribble with his left hand. He's a turnover machine. I mean, like he's not a max. He's not a max player. I know that.
Yeah, I mean,
Supermax.
there's a lot to unpack here. But we could say it shouldn't be about timing, but it is. The way these collective bargaining agreements work, there are certain possibilities that open up depending on what is in the CBA. And there's no doubt that he's a beneficiary of the timing of this deal. What's also true is he's not going to be the highest paid guy in the league for long. Somebody else is going to step into this window and be in an advantageous position. And so
Somebody, but it's still too much. He'll still be top 5, top 6.
No, I agree with that, and I'm kind of getting to that point. The other thing is, though, like on another level of this, you look at it and say, he's always been the dude that's dangled in the trade talk.
Yeah.
And through the playoffs, it was, Jalen's, this could be his last run with the Celtics. This deal, despite its obvious downside, does have it allows the Celtics to really show we love you and believe in you. And there can be a value in that. I'm not saying that trumps everything else going on, but that's an element of this. And then you have in private conversation, I guarantee you Jason Tatum believes he's a better player. And now the whole world knows he's paid less than Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, and his time is coming.
That can arise like a tension within that.
I don't think so, because his time is coming next year, right? So when that time comes and he's able to get that extension, he's going to supersede Jaylen Brown's contract. And now you're going to have two guys that's pretty much taking up the entire fucking cap. And they're two stars that are flawed in the aspect of they need like a full team, including reputable players coming off the bench for them to be successful. They're not plus what's the word I'm looking for? Added bonus type players. They don't make their teammates better. They need teammates to make them better.
Right, and I agree. That's probably the best way to phrase it. To say that, again, these are grizzled playoff veterans that have made it to the conference finals, that have made it to a final. But at the end of the day, you can say you haven't won a damn thing, and we're spending this much money on you, and we're going to spend this much money on the next guy next year. Like, what's the future of the team? We're not going to be able to put enough quality pieces around these two guys to win titles. And you look at it like this. In a lot of ways, they have had quality pieces around over the last several years.
Yeah.
And you have to look at it and say, okay, they're kind of in their prime. They probably don't have a whole lot of growth upward personally. And with these contracts, we're basically guaranteeing that the surrounding cast is going to continue to diminish. So by paying these two contracts and this being the first domino, you're virtually assuring the Celtics are not going to win a title. It's a harsh way to look at it.
That's what.
But there's nothing else you can. I mean, I don't see another conclusion.
I don't. I just don't. And I don't know, man. And they have a solid team this year. So I think their window is before they pay Jason Tatum and have to like really rip this team apart. But you have Porzingis in there. You have to pray he stays healthy. And I struggle with this team whether they actually need a real point guard or not. I'm not sure. I think Marcus Smart was really good for that team. He was just a 3-and-D type of point guard. Would they be better with a distributing point? I don't know, because Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown have the ball in their hands so much.
Yeah, it's a very from a basketball standpoint. Like when you're saying, do we need a point guard? What do we need? You have to be very honest with yourself as how you actually play as a team. And to me, the Celtics have enough, like the ball's going to be in Jason's hands the most, Jaylen next. They don't need what I'd characterize as a ball-dominant point guard.
Right.
That's why kind of Smart fit really well, because he was a plus defender. He could, distribute the ball in a relatively simplistic manner. And he was never a great shooter, but he could hit some shots.
He passed the ball. Yeah.
Yeah, he passed the ball, but he could hit some shots. It wasn't, that. But you don't need, it didn't work when they had Kemba Walker. Because Kemba Walker needs the ball a little bit more to do his thing. Kyrie a little similar. So, what you really need is kind of like a defensive stalwart, like a 3-and-D guy who has, for that role, maybe above average playmaking skills, so that you can, you still have some fluidity there.
Yeah. And I think they still have White.
They should have still have White, and he's a little bit of that.
He's a little bit of that, yeah.
But it's a hard mix. But I again, any successful team, you're gonna have to pay people.
Yeah.
And this is what I hate about, I get the economics of the salary cap and all that stuff, but that's what I hate about it. I feel like you most of these teams are like gun to the head. They have to pay people, and then they get into a certain position where they can't cultivate and grow and develop younger players behind them. And it's just not good from a pure basketball development standpoint.
Yeah.
If a team drafts well, maneuvers well, and builds a super team, they should have the ability to pay everybody.
They should.
Otherwise you're just not getting rewarded for doing the work on the front end and identifying and then developing players.
Yeah. No, that's true for sure. On from one big money man to the next. Going to switch sports here to Mbappe, soccer superstar. So we heard about the mega offer that the Saudis offered him, and of course we just learned yesterday that he rejected the offer. But the offer was for what? $700 million per season
for one season. So here's the thing: it's been no secret that Kylian wants to end up at Real Madrid at some point in his career. Last year, we were in the same position. He was actually a little bit different. He let his contract run out. And you got to realize this in soccer. If you let your contract run out, you get to sign as a true free agent wherever you want. If your contract has not run out, your team can sell you to another team.
Not trade.
You sell the guy. And so go back 24 months. Real Madrid made an offer of $200 million to buy Mbappe, and then they would have the obligation to then agree to a personal contract with him. PSG, who just at that moment brought Lionel Messi in, said, screw you, we're not moving him. I don't care what you offer. We feel like we can win the Champions League, which is the most prestigious thing in club soccer. They didn't. The whole thing didn't work. So last summer, 12 months ago, Mbappe's contract had run out, and there was huge speculation he was going to go to Real Madrid on a basically what's called a free transfer, where Real Madrid pays PSG nothing, and they sign Mbappe for whatever terms they want to sign. That didn't happen. He was basically convinced to stay at PSG on a 2-year deal with an extension for a third. And he did that. The president of France spoke to him, asked him to stay with the French team. It was also a World Cup year in Qatar, where the PSG, his team, is owned by Qatari people. And so, for them to go to the World Cup that they're hosting, and PSG has Mbappe, Messi, and Neymar, 3 of the biggest stars in the world, who are all playing in the World Cup in Qatar, there was huge commercial reasons for that to happen. And he signed a crazy lucrative deal. It was rumored to be as much as 3 years for $500 million. And he agreed to that. But it was, again, a 2-year deal with an option for a third. So we're done with 1 year of the deal. He's under contract for this coming season that's about to start. But what he did a few weeks ago was send a letter to the club and say, I'm not renewing for the 3rd year.
Okay.
And what that triggered is PSG now has a choice. He's not signing for a longer-term deal, and either we're going to get paid for him now and sell him somewhere, or we're going to play out a season of 12 months and he's going to walk away for free. And so they put in basically an ultimatum to it. It said by July 31st, you either sign an extension or we're going to sell you. And he kind of just balked at that. They got kind of jumpy and they basically put him on the market. And if you're not aware of this, Saudi Arabia is pouring money into sports hand over fist. The Saudi governmental fund purchased an English team called Newcastle. They also started that Live Golf thing that was there, a big thing, paying crazy money. And then they've started to pay with Ronaldo last year, high-level soccer players, huge sums of money. They offered Messi literally up to $1 billion to play there. He chose to go to Miami. So what they're trying to do globally, I think, is get their money out of oil and into other things so they're more diversified as more and more countries kind of press toward electric vehicles and things like that. And so they have money to throw at these things, and it has the potential to kind of upset the apple cart. As we're here right now, they've signed mostly like veteran big-name players to extremely lucrative deals. They've not signed a player in his prime to a lucrative deal. And so right now, the perception is when I get to the back end of my career, the Saudis will pay me a shit ton of money to play out my last days.
Isn't that like a decent way to look at it?
It is a decent way to look at it. But here's what what they did is they saw opportunity. PSG is literally saying we're going to sell Mbappe, and if we can't sell him, we're going to sit him an entire year and just not play him. And what they said is basically, we could be the solution. We have the money to make this work. We're going to offer PSG $300 million for Mbappe. And then they can accept that bid, which they technically have accepted the bid. But now there's the issue, would Mbappe go there? And the rumor is they're putting out a contract of $700+ million for 1 year because they know he wants to go to Real Madrid anyway.
Yeah, that next year.
But their play is we get Mbappe to play in our league in his absolute prime for a year. All the commercial value of that, along with these other stars we've recruited, and then let him go where he wants. But we've convinced the world, we've convinced world soccer that a prime player at the highest possible level will and can play in the Saudi league. We've got that juice.
But why won't Mbappe just do that?
Because Mbappe, and this is the other interesting part of this, he is at a level where he is, we've talked about this in the context of LeBron chasing Michael. Mbappe is chasing history, and there's no fucking history in Saudi Arabia. There's history in Europe. That's where it's at, particularly the Champions League, which is the highest competition. And it's extremely prestigious to score as many goals as possible in the Champions League. It raises your profile, your legacy, and all that stuff. So basically, by you telling him, hey, you come play in Saudi Arabia for a year, when you're 24 years old in the peak of your career, that means no Champions League.
You're just losing a year of your prime, basically, for money.
Yeah.
But he can potentially lose that year anyhow if you're saying that team will sit him out.
That's the and what at the end of the day, this is a gigantic game of chicken.
Oh, okay.
On the highest level.
Yeah.
PSG is saying we're going to sit you. Would they really do that? Like, is that what you're going to do?
I couldn't imagine.
Saudi Arabia or the Saudi League has come in and said we're going to pay you money that nobody's ever freaking heard of for one season and let you do exactly what you want to do anyway.
Leave. We're not going to bother you.
We ain't going to bother you. And Real Madrid is sitting there thinking, this is our guy. And there's a rumor that he has a contract with them already signed for next year. And they're looking at it like, we've got a signed deal with him. Why do we want to step in the fray for $200, $300 million now to get this a year early? Patience kind of waits with them. Mbappe's probably his camp is like, hey, I don't want to go to Saudi Arabia. I want to come to y'all now. Do something.
Make this happen.
Yeah. And so it's just the craziest configuration of just like external pressure everywhere.
Do you think he played his card too early with Madrid?
He like at the end of the day, like I feel like if Madrid was that strongly in his heart, he should have followed his heart and gone last year, and just gone. You know, forget what the president says, forget whatever. And again, if you're Mbappe and you show up in the French colors in Qatar and you play like you did,
Oh yeah,
you're a legend.
Yeah,
None of that matters.
No.
And it really was a wasted season at PSG, and I could predict it was going to be a wasted season because you had the World Cup literally in the middle of the season. Traditionally, the World Cup is played in June or July. This year, it was played in December because of the climate there. And so you start the regular club season normally. Surprise! Messi and Neymar come in great shape, and they're playing amazing for the first couple of months. Then we go to the World Cup. Neymar loses. He fucking gets injured and disappears for the rest of the year. Messi's celebrating for a month in Argentina and comes back not in great shape, not locked in. And then, you know, even Mbappe came back super quick, but, you know, he took up a 2-week break, and the team never connected thereafter. And
Are they going to get back to the regular schedule? Like how,
this year, yeah.
This year?
Oh, yeah, everything's back. The World Cup was a one-off.
Okay, just
in
a
that
one-off.
tradition, like the next World Cup in 2026 is here in the United States, but it's going to be in the summer, basically during the club off season, so it doesn't disrupt the middle of a season.
Gotcha.
And so you literally have the biggest sports game of chicken going on between Mbappe, PSG, Real Madrid, and El Hilal, the Saudi government.
Yeah.
And I don't know what's going to happen. I really don't. But yeah, and again, when you look at some of these contract figures, though, you have to realize it's not a pure playing contract. You kind of become like part of that contract is maybe essentially becoming like an ambassador for Saudi Arabia, and also your name and image likeness rights. They would own those for the year. And players are high profile players are extremely reluctant to give that up because that has tremendous value to them, and they have tremendous control over it. So, you know, I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be wild. That's all you can say.
Is. What do you think about social media when they're saying, when they're looking at these figures, they're looking at these numbers, and they're like, "Oh man, I gotta get my child into soccer." All this, like,
there was a couple weeks ago. There was a viral video of a dad who had literally a 2-year-old kid, and he called it Project Mbappe, and he's got him out there in the grass, and he's doing whatever. Okay, so what do I think about that?
I mean, because the end of that thought is like, these are the top of the top guys. Like, you know, I don't want to shit on anybody's dream of getting offered $700 million a seat, but that's probably not going to happen.
I mean, we've had 2,023 years since Jesus died, and this is the first time it's ever happened. So, you know, if you got 2,000 years to wait around, we'll see what's up. There's always fathers, sons, families that want this for their kid. That this is what they aspire to. I mean, all these kids, you know, we had our guy Brandon in with the football, and like, you know, there's a part of him that he would love to see his son in the league and doing great and all that. I mean, that's what drives sports. It's the fantasy, it's the lottery thing of like, you know, maybe that's you one day, or maybe that's your kid, or whatever. That's that guy. That's Mbappe, and you know, that's what drives this industry as much as so many other things. I don't think it necessarily changes, but I do think, like from a U.S. perspective, you do see like again, like you're not a soccer guy, but you're starting to see this. It gets on your radar, and you're like, hold on. And one of the things that I looked at this a couple weeks ago on Instagram, and just measuring Instagram followers, which roughly translates into money at some level. Yeah. Ronaldo has 1 billion followers. Mbappe's up there 700 million. If you look at like tier for tier, soccer guys are way higher than NBA guys, and NBA guys are way higher than freaking football guys. And there's like, you know, when you make it big in soccer, I mean, it just doesn't get bigger. I mean, that's just a real thing. You know, and you do that. And again, like, I mean, Messi's playing in Miami now. He's put like 2 games. He's got a couple goals. You know, LeBron's there. Serena Williams is there. Everybody's there. It's a spectacle, man.
And they're really, who am I to say? But I would bet like they're not soccer people. Like, and that's the
Not
same thing
serious
with me.
soccer players. Like there's a celebrity thing. It's like, here's this guy. He's the
Here's this
GOAT.
guy. I'm a
and I
Messi
gotta go
guy,
see
and
this.
you know that.
Yeah,
Like,
I know you're a Messi
I'm not
guy.
a soccer guy.
Yeah, but you're a Messi guy.
But I watch like all Messi games, like,
Yeah.
and when he retires, like same thing with baseball. Like I'm not a baseball guy, but when Barry Bonds was playing, I was watching every game.
Yeah.
And I know. So stars in each sport matter. So I'm sure there's people that are not NBA guys, but they'll watch if LeBron is playing or Curry or whatever.
There's
something to that.
something about greatness.
Yeah.
Greatness is attractive, and when you get a whiff of it, if you get a scent that somebody is actual greatness, you hear about it and you're drawn to see, like, what is it?
Yeah.
Like, what makes this guy different?
And then if they confirm it, because
Yeah.
I'm like, you got to imagine this. Like I was working at Rollins at the time, and Rollins in the facilities department, there's all these different nationalities.
Yeah.
So when you have all these different nationalities, like soccer is huge in all these various different countries. So when the World Cup would come around, and I was there for 3 World Cups. That's how long I worked there.
Gosh almighty.
That's how long I worked there. And while I'm there, and everybody's getting so hyped up, and everybody keeps telling me like Messi. Oh, and of course other soccer players as well. But when you keep hearing it, and then you finally sit down and just watch a game in a break room, and then the first game and he does something amazing, you're like, oh, this is what they're
talking about.
And the same thing it could be for Jordan or for LeBron or for Mbappe or whatever. It's like when they confirm the greatness.
Yeah,
that
when you hear it and you see it, and you're like, holy shit.
This
is yeah. And like you look at the World Cup final, which featured Argentina's Messi winning in a penalty shootout against Mbappe's France. Argentina, for the first 65 minutes of the game, was up 2-0. They were controlling the game. The game was dead. Mm-hmm. It was boring. And I'll never forget, like, I might as well be French. That's my team. There's no other, I mean, it probably rivals FSU football at this point for the French national team.
That's big.
Mbappe scores a goal to pull it to 2-1. He ties the game at 2-2, and it feels like, holy fucking shit. Yeah. And, like, on social media, people that I know don't watch soccer, they're like, this motherfucker don't want his team to lose. Like, and like that's the first time they're ever seeing this guy. Mm-hmm. And I've been in it for 6 years. And it's just like, yeah, welcome to the party. This is what he does. You know, and then now everybody's seeing it. Yeah. And, you know, it just was, it's amazing to see. It's one of the great things in sport. Like, no matter what sport you like, to watch like a truly great performer rise and command a critical moment. It's what it's all about, man.
It's shit is fucking legendary.
Yeah.
It's like amazing.
I shit you not. I mean, like, all nonsense aside, that's what I live for. Yeah. I don't live to work or to pay bills or anything like that. I live to have Mbappe score 3 goals in the World Cup final and carry his country. Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest with you. Like, when like I'm on the verge of tears when that's happening. Yeah. I can't. You know, I'm like, that's my fucking guy.
Yeah.
You know, it's unbelievable. Yeah. And like those, like, there's something about, like, you know, life is like, it's the moments that take your breath away.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, in so many ways, it's those sporting moments when a guy just does something. You're just like, God damn, I'm glad I can see this.
Yeah.
You know, this is what it's about. And he's that dude. You know, Messi's been that dude in his own way, and it's just special. It's what makes sports so alluring.
It is. I'm not ashamed to say it. I did shed a tear when Mahomes won. I was in Atlanta. My girl thought I was fucking insane. Like, she thought I was hilarious. I'll never forget. I was watching it when they beat the 49ers, his first Super Bowl.
Yeah.
She thought I was losing my fucking mind.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, dude, I'm gonna go one further. You know, there's that quarterback show on Netflix, and if you haven't seen it, watch it. It's great, and it features Pat Mahomes, and it tracks them through the whole season. And I had a moment like that moment when, after they win the Super Bowl, and his dad, who is in his own right a professional baseball player, successful, is like, I ain't never seen anything like you. Damn, to his own son. And then a few minutes later in the show, like, Pat, like, reflects on that. He's like, you know, that's my hero that I grew up with telling me he can't believe he can't see anything like me. Like,
damn.
What more? Yeah. Like, what more?
Yeah.
Kill us now. It ain't getting better.
Was that your best moment from that show?
Oh yeah, easily.
You know what I thought?
There was a
you know-
lot of cool
I
moments.
was gonna say because I had one I would have guessed would have been for you.
Oh, what was it then?
I thought it would have been when Mahomes, when he got hurt in the Jacksonville game, and the next game,
Yeah.
he aggravated the injury, and they wanted him to come out, and
Yeah.
he was like, "Fuck no, man!"
Yeah.
No. Like I thought that would have been your best moment.
I love that. I do. I even love when he got hurt in the Super Bowl itself, like
Okay.
the end of the half.
Yeah.
I love those, but I would not expect anything less from him. And so while I loved it, but to me, like being a father and whatever, like when he's like that interaction with his dad and his reflection on that just struck deep for me. That really struck deep. You know, you like, again, when you, I've always analogized it like when you like a player and he becomes your guy, like you have an emotional investment in that guy. And we, like anybody who loves sports and has a guy, like that's your thing. And so at the end of the day, he's a man. He has frailties and failings and all this other stuff, and he puts his pants on like we do. But when they go to that place, when they're doing their thing, and you just kind of know how a person's going to react because of who they are, like that's just so special. It like validates the investment you've put in following that person's career and supporting him. And so like how I feel about Pat, I would never have thought any other reaction. I would have literally been shocked and disappointed if he meekly accepted, "You're not going back in the game." Like, no, that's not my guy anymore.
What big quarterback did do that? It was a big quarterback who did
Michael
that.
Vick, his whole life.
No. I almost got him. Damn. He was Jay Cutler.
Oh, God.
Jay Cutler did that in the playoffs.
Jay Cutler has
remember that.
nobody is his guy.
And he was like,
He's nobody's guy. He ain't even his mama's guy.
and it was a playoff game. And he said he couldn't go back in the game, but he was riding a bike, he was throwing on the sideline, he was sprinting on the sideline.
Having a hot dog.
He literally had a hot dog on the, he literally did. No, seriously.
That's wild, man.
And his team lost. He didn't go back in the game.
That's
And
funny.
he didn't fight at all. Yeah.
There was I got to bring this up because like Usain Bolt is one of my guys.
He was. Yeah,
And
I remember that.
In the 2016 Olympics, when the last event of the Olympics is the relay, 4x1, and I remember reading like a day after, it was like on ESPN, like the written article of that relay, and the guy captured it perfectly. When Bolt got the baton in the anchor leg, he was slightly behind, but everything we knew about Bolt, there was no way, there was not an instant in your mind that you didn't think he was going to win. And he, like, in the way the guy wrote it, it was like he built that trust in us that we never doubted that moment.
Right.
Like as soon as he received the baton, the race was over. That's it. It just was. And in fact it was.
Yeah,
And it
that
couldn't
was.
end any other way.
Yeah.
And it's just like when that was the perfect summation of a career. He never should have went to the 2017 World Championships. He mentally wasn't there. He knew, like in his athletic clock, he knew that was the end.
Yeah.
And he just had to bring that home, and he did. But that was another one. I mean, you could watch that one and just be like choked up, like, God damn, he did.
No, that's for sure. That's for sure. Once again, you guys are on the Bitch podcast with Bubba and Pink, home of sports, music, and mayhem. I want to get this quickly in here. There's a movie on Netflix called They Cloned Tyrone, man.
What is this all about? I've seen the preview, or not the preview. I've seen like the picture for it.
Yes. So basically, it has Jamie Foxx in there, and what's interesting is it's not a piece of the movie, but it has nothing to do with it. But oddly enough, they're thinking that Jamie Foxx is actually a clone. Like, have you seen him appear in in news cycles and videos posts?
I saw a thing where he was speaking about what he'd been through.
Yeah.
And then like I just like I saw it, I listened to it, and I just took it as like, you know, oh man, I'm glad you're still with us.
Yeah.
And then
You see all these other
within
comments.
24 hours, there's like pictures of like, you know, healthy Jamie Foxx and Jamie Foxx in the video, and people are like, well, his head is, you know, 2
Right.
centimeters smaller,
Right.
and I was like, what the fuck are we doing?
And what's and another sidebar. That's the Jamie Foxx sidebar. That's that one. One more sidebar is what's interesting about this movie is a few years ago I was one of those crazy people. Not crazy. I'm just a conspiracy person at heart. And I did say that they were cloning particular black figures like Gucci Mane. I really thought he was a clone.
Cloned?
And
Like what would that be? Like what were you seeing that you were basing that on?
well, from Gucci in itself, it's just like you feel like you know these guys when you grow up with them, not necessarily like if like any artist like today, like Lil Baby, I don't think I know him, but
Right.
growing up, I was listening to Gucci Mane every day. I would look at every fucking interview, every video, every song, so I felt like I knew him, like I can call him.
What kind of we're talking with the
So-
athletes? Some guys you're that into
You're
that,
that
like you
into
kind of like you absorb everything they're doing.
Right. So if something happens to this person, and then you don't see him for a little while, and then you see him again, and then you just notice the differences. Now, what Gucci is saying, you know, he went to jail, came out, he got in great shape while he was in prison, and then he changed his mental space. He just wasn't the same. He evolved as a human.
Yeah.
That's just something we didn't think Gucci Mane was capable of. That's, you know what I mean? And so, you know, so that's a piece of it. I understand that part.
Yeah.
But God damn, that was a drastic change. I just don't see people making that drastic of a change. And then the verses happen with him and Jeezy, and then he gets a little back in the day, and then you're like, oh, maybe it's not a clone. So but the thing is, and go ahead. Yeah.
I was gonna say like in that like situation like who benefits from the clone having this like dramatic transformation? Like what would be the motive to do that?
So okay, so you're back. Okay, the conspiracy thing, right? So
Yeah.
Okay, the thought behind that would be, okay, they killed the real Gucci Mane.
Okay.
Okay, so why did they kill the real Gucci Mane and decide to clone him? That's the conspiracy.
But clone him as like kind of like this evolved differently guy.
The issue is they would change him. They for whatever reason they would fucking.
But to me, that's the central question. There has to be a reason
Yes.
to clone him in that manner. Otherwise, it's way too much effort for nothing.
It is now the movie.
Okay.
Because that kind of ties into this movie.
Perfect.
So, right. So what they're doing is they're cloning particular figures in this movie, and even inside the movie, they say, okay, so they're cloning when they find out they're cloning pastors, prostitutes, and drug dealers.
Solid choices across the board. Wait,
And
so
it's basically to
let me just ask one thing.
Okay.
This movie is like it's created characters. They're not referencing like real life people
they're not.
that we
They're
know.
not.
Okay,
They're not.
so
and
they're
Jamie
cloning-
Foxx is one of them, but that's the point. Like this, that's not a.
He's not playing himself
No,
in this
no,
movie.
no,
He's
no.
playing a character that
Yeah,
may
yeah.
or may not be cloned. Okay,
Right.
Gotcha.
Okay, and I wanted to read a piece because there's so many mixed reviews online. Some people like, some people don't. And this is the thing. This is technically a sci-fi film, something that you're not a part of. But it's technically that's what it is.
Tariq Hill?
I'm not even 100% sure what it's labeled as, but
Yeah.
I've watched enough sci-fi films in my lifetime where I know what it should be labeled as.
Okay.
Right, but the thing about it is it has a lot of comedy. It's Jamie, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it has a lot of comedy. It's great acting, and Jesus Christ, there's some good writing in here. Like it's fucking awesome. But I'm gonna read a post from Ronnie Hartfield. Ronnie is actually a person I do want on the show actually, but also he does a lot of different events here in the Central Florida area. If you're a person that's in Central Florida and you're like, oh, there's never anything to do, and you look up Ronnie Hartfield. He has some dope events that you will love. Okay, all right. So he says, I see a lot of people with their negative reviews on They Clone Tyrone, and I respect that because I don't agree with 90% of the stuff that y'all watch. I can say that I absolutely love the movie, and here are some things that hit home for me. The way it was filmed, I loved how we looked on TV as far as the dark skin. The soundtrack was fire, by the way. If you're not familiar with blaxploitation, cinema, and or the Deep South music, then a lot of this won't resonate well with you. The characters, they really played off each other well, and nothing felt forced. Pacing, I didn't get bored. The overall story, if you ever watch Clockwork Orange, Black Dynamite, or any other type of mind control movie, then this is for you. I know a lot of y'all aren't really into sci-fi and would rather watch Power 23 or another slave movie, but these are kind of
Another slave movie. That's awesome. That's the best line of it.
Yeah, it is the best line. Shout out to Ronnie, man.
That's funny.
But yeah, that's what it's about. I just think it's an awesome, solid movie. But again, you do have to be in that lane, and also I just love it was like random timing. Like it's just came out of the blue. I didn't know this movie was coming out. I didn't see much, like commercials or publicity about it. I didn't know Jamie had a movie coming out. I just thought he was.
It just kind of popped up on the
just kinda
Netflix
popped
roster
up.
for me.
It just kind of popped up. Yeah.
But I mean, I agree with what he's saying. Like, I mean, he's really highlighting like the technical quality of how the movie's made.
Yeah.
But it doesn't necessarily like the genre's the genre. And if you're not, if you're not comfortable in that genre, you're probably not, gonna enjoy it despite its quality.
And I think that's a part of the mixed reviews.
Yeah.
I think the people that are down on it or whatever, this is not into sci-fi, and that's fine. Like, you don't have to be.
Yeah.
But there is like I said, there's some other, there's drama in it, there's comedy in it. So it's not your run-of-the-mill, like regular sci-fi. Like, I don't want to like characterize it like this, but white sci-fi is really dry. I love it. I watch it, but it's really like just weird shit. It's just a combination of weird shit. This movie here was able to tie in other aspects. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't like to watch any movie where at some point during the course of the running of the movie, I have to say to myself, what the fuck is going on here? Like, if I have to say that during your movie,
Yeah.
I just wasted my time. I'm angry.
I told you the show From that I watched. Like, I was in season 2.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we still don't know what the fuck is going on.
I can't do that. I need to know what's going on. I'm an information hound. I mean, I respond to having information and understanding what's going on, and then I can draw my own conclusions or inferences or whatever. But to watch something where I literally kind of like, what the fuck is going on? It's a death note for me. It ain't happening.
No, that's for sure. So that was They Clone Tyrone. That's on Netflix. So I do have Started Bitch with Coach Pink.
I like it.
But what we won't do today is we won't put you on a time restriction.
Oh, good.
All right. So we're just going to talk about the different topics and trending topics that's going on in the world of sports, music, and entertainment.
As Chuck Daly once said of Dennis Rodman, you don't put a saddle on a Mustang.
Alrighty, so let's go. I'm gonna and we're gonna hit every single topic this time since we don't
hit him randomly. Just you throw it out there and I have to deal with it.
All right. So Drake had an interview. He doesn't do many of those. And during the interview, they asked him about like, hey, when you getting married, right? And he basically revealed why he doesn't want to get married, but he does offer women some hope. So basically what he said was he doesn't think marriage is going to be for him. But, he says the woman he does end up with probably won't be a famous woman. It'll be like a regular, day-to-day working, day-to-day woman for various reasons. One, he doesn't think that famous women are that interesting. He think they're overrated. And,
take that, famous women.
He's probably smashed them all, so I'll take his word for it. I haven't smashed any.
I'm going to bang another famous woman who's boring, has little to offer.
Well, what is your take on Drake down on marriage and down on famous women?
I absolutely. This is one of the many reasons why I love Drake. I think it's just totally sensible. Yeah. But if you like reading between the lines, like he's well aware that the pace of his life in this period, and there's no defined endpoint, it's not a life that's conducive to like developing a
positive, connected relationship. He's too busy. He's too driven. It's just not time for that. And for him to realize that and be self-aware, 100% correct. And then even the back end of it, like if I do settle with somebody at some point, it won't be a celebrity, because he, as well as anybody on the planet, like he knows what celebrity does.
Yeah.
It does to your ego, does to your time, does to just your peace of mind. And it's probably not a healthy place to be.
Yeah.
I mean, how many like stable celebrity relationships exist? I mean, for a while you thought maybe Will and Jada were okay, but they're fucking batshit crazy. I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
And a lot of time, like you look at, and again, I don't know enough to say that there's not a skeleton in the closet, but you look at like Denzel and his wife Paula. It's like, she kind of like stepped back from her career and kind of just, they've cooperated in a way where he's the celebrity and she's not, and they just exist in that space. It's just there's not a lot of things, and so I think what he's saying is like totally sensible. He realizes that at the pace of his life and direction of it, it's not time for that. And, again, if he reaches that time and it slows down for him, it's like, yeah, let me get somebody who's not part of this whole scene.
No, that's for sure.
That home run for Drake.
Your guy, man. Well, it's definitely not your guy. But Justin Herbert. He another big money guy. We're talking a lot of big money guys today, man.
Overrated turd.
Becomes the highest paid quarterback, or the highest paid player in NFL history, really, with his new contract. He's the next guy up.
This is worse than the Jaylen Brown contract.
They actually got him a year early on this. The last two guys who received the highest paid quarterback manager without making the playoffs, the previous or any time during their career, was Carson Wentz and Arizona Cardinals quarterback Kyler Murray. So he joins that band of guys.
Band of guys is right. I mean, you can't call that esteemed company. I mean, that's Scrub Central right there. Yeah. To me, Justin Herbert, until proving otherwise, is an empty suit. He looks the part. Everybody kind of likes him, but there's 0 playoff wins. That's what this is about. You're not that guy if you're sitting on 0 playoff wins.
And 0 playoff signature moments. Like Josh Allen lost to Mahomes. And of course, he's had playoff wins, but he lost to Mahomes that one time in the playoffs. But like he had a fucking monster game.
Oh yeah. That was one of those ones. I mean that game in general and Josh's performance in particular. Yeah. I'm glad I saw that.
Oh yeah.
Like that dude was scary.
Yes.
Like, and Herbert doesn't have that. And to make him the highest paid guy and whatever. And again, you've beat this drum very effectively. Is that like the highest paid guy like has never been the pathway.
Yeah.
Like Brady always left money on the table in his career, and he's got tons of Super Bowl rings. Although at the time it was signed, it seemed like an astounding contract. There's indication that Pat Mahomes did the same thing.
Yeah, he's like the 7th highest.
And the way the contract was structured was, to my understanding, team friendly.
Yeah.
And so it's just not the pathway. And particularly, I mean, I always like playing quarterback is like better than being the president, but there's some similarities to it. You are the face of the franchise. Everything goes through you first. And you want to live up to that role. And that's at the end of the day, it's winning. And if you got to take a little less to have a little more around you, you're going to make that money up, swagging your rings around, when you get them. Then Justin Herbert will, toiling away in San Diego or LA or wherever the fucking Chargers want to play, but that's the reality. Like I mean, if this guy, and to me, there's so many guys in front of him.
Yeah.
Specifically Pat, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow. Like you're not arguably a top 5 guy, but we're gonna pay you like this. And it's the same. I mean, that's why the first thing that hit me was the Jaylen Brown comparison, because like nobody's telling you Jaylen Brown's a top 10 NBA player.
Right.
They're not. They can't.
No.
Yeah, but he's right now the highest paid player.
Yeah.
Makes no sense, man.
No. It doesn't. But congratulations for getting the bag.
I ain't congratulating anybody for getting the bag. My guy's about to pass up the biggest bag in the history of sport because he cares more about the fucking product on the field.
I want to read this headline to you, and I just want you to react because
Okay.
I don't know. For the life of me, I couldn't help but think. Okay, so Demoy Hodge returns home and is celebrated for becoming the first Virgin Islander NBA.
He's a virgin?
That's that's the first thing I thought. Like, I don't know.
I thought AC Green had that locked up forever.
AC Green.
Did he? He like played 13 years, zero pussy.
Was he a Laker or something?
Yeah, he was a Laker. He was part of
Okay.
the Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson's banging 6 girls at a time, and teammate AC Green's taking a virgin 0 for lifer. I mean,
I just wanted to throw that in because
Nah.
I saw that and I couldn't get around it. That's all I could think.
that's like that thing where your mind is just conditioned to like absorb certain words. I think it meant he's like from the Virgin Islands. I mean, but wasn't Tim Duncan?
I don't know.
I thought Tim Duncan was like a Virgin Islands guy.
Oh yeah, yes. He's a Virgin Island.
It's like,
guy.
what are you
Yeah.
celebrating this guy for?
Hold on. What it says? It says, no. Maybe Tim Duncan's not. Maybe he's from. I know he's from one of those.
One of the islands. I
one of
thought it
those
was the Virgin
Caribbean-
Islands.
Caribbeans. Yeah.
I think it was the Virgin Islands, man.
We have to look that up.
I'm not sure why we're celebrating this guy. He needs to get some pussy, and he's always going to take it back to Tim Duncan.
I don't know how much he's going to play either with the Lakers.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Messi scored a couple of times in Miami. The reason why I wanted to bring this up is because a lot of people are saying they're calling this is like the G League of soccer. Is what they're saying. The league that Messi is in.
The MLS. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it?
Yeah, easily.
Yeah. So it's not even comparable to
No.
your.
No, it presents its own challenges. There are the major teams in Europe. There's the English Premier League, Spanish La Liga, German Bundesliga, Serie A in Italy, League One in France. Portugal League is good, but even those, it's not, like it's not the
all
same.
of those leagues you named, are they better than MLS?
By a million miles.
Every last single league you just named.
Every last league. Yeah.
By
Every
miles.
last league. By miles. It's no comparison.
So the top team in MLS can't even compete with
No.
the top team.
No.
in-
Not full. Well, here's what happens. I think the Arsenal is part of their preseason played the MLS All-Stars about a week ago. I think it was 3 or 4-0.
And they played the All Stars.
They played the MLS All-Stars, and they probably played not even an optimal team. There were probably important players that if they were playing an actual Premier League game would have played that didn't play.
Yikes!
It's just a whole nother level.
Why did Messi decide to go there? It's just
He's
like
at the tail end of his career. It's
retirement
retirement.
thing.
That's the
Why not
traditional.
retire in Saudi for $1 billion?
Well, I think he wanted to be. I mean, it is an interesting
wants to be
choice.
in Florida.
I mean, I mean, in some ways, he's a bit of a pioneer because he wanted to come to the U.S. and play here. Or maybe he loves Miami. I don't know. He's like the only one who's chosen this path, like with Saudi throwing on the money.
Yeah, what's that?
Traditionally, like the U.S. League, the MLS League, it got David Beckham at the tail end of his career. It got Thierry Henry at the end of his career. It's got Messi now. It had Zlatan Ibrahimovic at the end of his career. It's Wayne Rooney at the end of his career. Like when you have kind of played your way out or there's not much gas in the tank in Europe in the big leagues, yeah, you go to MLS, enjoy a nice lifestyle in LA and juice it for money. And that's what people have done. Now, this past year, Saudi Arabia is providing another option, but a far more lucrative one. But the Messi deal is super complicated. in that, like, he literally gets money off of every Apple TV subscription there is for MLS Soccer, and most of the games are moving toward Apple TV. He's got all sorts of, like, things in his deal. And he also, I think, my understanding is he has the right to purchase a team. Now, David Beckham, who came to the LA Galaxy and signed a team with them, he's the owner of Messi's team, Inter Miami.
Yeah.
He, at the time of his contract, and this was years ago, he basically got, as part of his agreement, that he had the ability to buy an MLS team for $25 or $30 million. Price locked. Even though this is like a lower tier league, the franchise, the Inter Miami, and then when you add Messi, like, it's probably worth $500 million. So Beckham literally made $500 million on that deal.
Yeah.
Plus whatever they paid him to actually play the games.
Exactly.
I mean, there's a high level of finance that goes on in this that you got to, like, recognize is also part of the moving pieces in these deals.
Right. Yeah.
You know.
Behind the door for sure.
And the other thing, Inter Miami, like, when he went there, they're like among the worst teams in the league, like, at this point in the season. But he's gone there. His former Barcelona teammate has also gone there. Sergei Busquets. They just are adding another one of his former teammates, Andres Iniesta. And they're basically like, and that probably was part of the deal.
Yeah,
like, we're putting you in a league. We're going to surround you with all your old friends you like to play with, and you guys will probably do pretty well because of that.
Right, exactly.
You know, it's crazy, but, you know, he's the only one to kind of make that decision so far, versus the Saudi Arabia path.
No, that's true. All right, moving on here. Patrick Mahomes here, in a recent interview, says the Chiefs are at the beginning of a dynasty after 2 Super Bowl titles. They asked him if they were a dynasty now, and he said, no, not yet, but you could say we're at the beginning, especially if we win a Super Bowl this year. What do you think about that? Do you think they are a dynasty right now, or they need to get at least one more? What are you thinking in that term?
This is a tough question for me. I guess I might have a low threshold for what a dynasty is. And I would tend to say with 2 Super Bowls and 3 Super Bowl appearances in this era, like, you know, in this window of time, I'd consider that a dynasty. I mean, I don't think you're going to look at this era of football and not think of those Chiefs teams with Pat Mahomes. So to me, they're kind of already there. But I agree with what he's saying. Like number one, as a person living in the moment and attacking the game, it's perfectly right. This is the beginning. Mm-hmm. You know, because we're so much more ahead of us. That's what we want. So it's the right mindset to have personally. And, you know, certainly if they reel off, you know, a couple more Super Bowls, then it really becomes something that you look at and like, wow, look at what those guys did. You know, but like, I mean, how do we define a dynasty? I think it's kind of subjective. You look at, like, you know, the Tom Brady Patriots are like really, like, what was that? Like I mean, because like the titles were won over a big span of time.
Yeah.
And there were seasons of disappointment and playoff failure mixed in. It wasn't just like every year we're in the Super Bowl and win 70% of those games.
No.
I mean, there were a number of, like, you know, falling short and this and that.
Yeah.
And even the 2
non-playoff years.
Even the 2 losses to Eli in that mix.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, so but how do we not look back and say that was a freaking dynasty?
Yeah.
Brady and the Patriots. You know, that was something that, you know, was always felt like it was there.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, Pat as starter. I mean, here's the thing too, and you've been huge in bringing this. I mean, like, Pat as the starting guy, like, it's never gone bad. Like, it's the worst it's been is conference final.
Yeah.
So how do you not say that's like a dynasty? I mean, they're setting the standard right now.
Yeah.
And they're on basically, what, a 4-year run of this level of success, and there's no immediate belief that the bottom's going to fall out.
Right.
So.
I agree, man. I agree. All right. Let's go with over here a case we've been following with YNW Melly there. Let me get to the actual things there.
I was going through some pictures there. I got a picture there I didn't want to click on.
Say less.
Hope that didn't go on the screen. Melly's double murder case to be retried following the mistrial. And so the thing is, so the judge labels this a mistrial, and a lot of initial reaction is, oh, Melly's coming home, he got off, this is good, he beat the case, but that's not really what's going on here. They're gonna retry the case, but I didn't know that, I didn't know that was really an option or a thing that could happen. Like this thing goes on for a super long time.
Well, do you know why it was mistried? Like, was there reasoning for it?
There was a reasoning for it.
But you don't know what that is?
No, it was linked to not having enough, evidence mixed in with the jurors being, not being able to convict or make a decision.
Oh, so maybe the jury deadlocked.
Yeah, something like
and
that.
And you got a mistrial with a jury deadlock. So,
yeah,
here's the reality. Like, if a trial happens and gets to a verdict, either guilty or innocent, it can't be redone because we have the legal concept of double jeopardy. You can't be retried for the same crime. But a mistrial is just what it says it is. It's basically becomes like a non-event. Like the trial is null and void, and we act as though it never happened.
Yeah, it says after jurors couldn't agree on the verdict.
Okay, so it would be a jury deadlock. No agreement could be made or to make either conviction or finding him innocent. So the state has the absolute right to try him again. And so, again, you're not there. Now, the one thing to keep in mind, on lower profile cases, on other types of cases, the state may decide, well, we're not going to try this again. It's too costly. The result is too uncertain. And we're just not going to go through that again. But if this guy is like truly in their crosshairs, they have the absolute right to do it, and they probably will, as long as the case stays good. And it can be complicated because so much of the trial kind of reached the public and reached the public mindset. So when you're doing this again in 6 months or whatever, like there's so many more people that like already are aware of so many elements of the evidence, and so it doesn't automatically like taint the jury pool, but the jury pool is influenced because they have way more knowledge about this than they would have been at the time of the first trial.
Right, they're not learning as they go like a normal trial.
Right. In an ideal setting, it's not a completely high-profile matter. A jury is selected, and they don't have any particular knowledge of what happened or what the charges are or what the defenses are, and they just absorb it in real time and render a verdict.
Right.
Obviously, any high-profile case kind of gets away from that kind of purist model because, again, like OJ, like people know you can't hide it, or in this, as well to a lesser degree. But when you've already kind of had a trial and people have maybe followed a little bit or whatever, it's going to be harder to find like a kind of an unbiased jury.
And again, my thing on it is, especially I know what the jurors are going through because the problem is they just do not have the smoking gun under any circumstance. They don't have any evidence. Any evidence that could directly tie him, but all of the circumstantial evidence, you could just look at it and say, yeah, he did this. Like he did it.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna be on the if you're gonna be a juror and you have to make a decision, it's like, man, they don't have anything that can direct it. But goddamn, I know he did it.
Well, but see that comes down to like, and that's what juries like. They become very confusing because it's 6 or 12, whatever the jury is. It's just different people.
Yeah.
And like, again, you have 6 or 12 people, like, one person's probably going to be one of those guys, a conspiratorial person, somebody's going to be like just a letter of the law. Well, the judge told us this and we can't do anything other than what they told, Another person's, going to be like a connect the dots, like, who else did this? Like really, like, and those people have to somehow come out of that room with a united verdict.
Yeah.
And that's what didn't happen here. That's why the situation's moving to what it is. But, and that's like, I mean, there's always element, like when you're picking a jury, you're looking at various elements. You may want racial diversity. You may not want it. You may want all men. You may want all women. There's all those things there. But the hardest thing in the limited amount of time that you have to kind of question and interact with the jurors is like, how do they think? Like, what is their, how do they react to pressure? How do they think and make their decisions, regardless of race and gender and religious background? That's something it's hard to get a feel for. And when if you're doing a jury selection, you are kind of like asking some questions that you hope would kind of give you at least a little snapshot into how somebody kind of like processes stuff, so that you have, some idea of what they might do.
No, for sure. And then lastly, Bronny, man. Bronny James, LeBron James' oldest son, collapsed during a practice. What they call in cardiac arrest, a heart attack. So what we've learned since is that he's in stable condition. What we don't know is that if and when basketball will resume. We don't know that.
Yeah.
But what was your initial reaction there when you?
Disbelief. Like I saw it first on the IG timeline. I was in the office and just scanned it, and like first reaction, you're like, what? Like, is this a joke? And you're looking at like, the entity that posted it, and then you kind of scroll a little bit further, and it's like, wait a minute, this happened.
Yeah.
I hit up Reggie, like he was, he works with me, and I was like, Reggie, you got to see this. Like, I'm like, we kind of came. I was like, no way. And it's like, just trying to piece together. It just seems so incredible. Like, 18-year-old guy, and hearing the like heart attack. It just those two things alone were tough to fathom. And then you're saying, like, this is LeBron's son. He just started college. He's obviously fit and all that. It's wild. I mean, it's tough to fathom. And it is good news that he's apparently stable, but I'm assuming it's too early to know, if basketball's back on the table and what the timetable might be and what that return might look like. I came in, 10 was outside, and we were talking on my way in, and, we both remembered that Shaquille's son had went to UCLA, and then he didn't have a heart attack, but he had something wrong with his heart, and he had to have a surgical procedure, and kind of was out a whole year, and then ended up at LSU. And it kind of like probably derailed much of his like basketball prospects. It's great that he was able to, have that procedure and return to a position where he was welcome to play, but I don't know. I've seen a few things, but I'm kind of like tempering my own expectations. I hope they're not overly optimistic, like, because there was some stuff today about like, well, return to basketball timetable unknown. It's like, it's almost presuming that he will return to basketball, and that's a possibility or a likelihood. But in my mind, I'm just kind of like holding back, kind of, all right, let's figure out what happened, And there's just so much ripple effects on this. We've seen it more in football, but this occurred during a workout.
Yeah.
And we've seen lawsuits and all sorts of things, investigations, and people losing jobs when football players have died in the course of workouts. And so, at some point, I don't know when that's going to be, there's going to be a review of what happened, in the practice, in the workout. What, were there signs? Was there anything that could have been done differently? Was the workout too rigorous? Was there not proper water or warm-ups or whatever else? This will come back to USC for an investigation. They may come out clean, but somebody at some point is going to look at that, and that's going to be a focus of what happened. Also, I mean, there's going to be a lot of times with some of these instances, they look closer at the health of the individual, and maybe there was some pre-existing arrhythmia or something that could account for this. Just on its face, fit 18-year-old person having a heart attack, it's not normal. You got to look for what happened here, what's going on.
That's for sure.
And then you look at beyond that, like, you have an individual who was aspiring to be in the NBA. This may be a bump in the road, a temporary diversion. This could be the end of the road. And then obviously his dad, who's got to be, devastated. I'm sure his whole family is. But it's no secret, like, part of LeBron playing at this point has been connected to the idea of playing with his son.
Exactly. So if that goes away, maybe this really it could be his last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, you hope Bronny's okay, that he's going to have a good recovery and all that. But, like, if the early reports are, maybe overly optimistic and he's struggling to a higher degree, I mean, you could see LeBron not being, ready or engaged to participate this season. If Bronny's really in a bad spot, physically and whatever. So there's so many things to consider, but it's a shocking and sad, story. And you and I mean, I always have to imagine it's similar, but maybe even more magnified. I mean, you and I were around Austin Rivers when he was coming up through high school, and I've always had a tremendous amount of respect for Austin because of what I saw him endure, being the son of an NBA player and an NBA coach at the time when he was in high school. It's a different burden than another kid whose dad just does a regular job.
Definitely.
And then, Bronny's, it's even more heightened.
Yeah.
It's crazy, he's, ostensibly handled himself marvelously through this.
He did. He has and gotten better and really handled himself well because there was a lot of question marks early on, like size or he's only
Is he
ranked,
really that good?
Is he really that good? He's only ranked top 30, not top 5 like he should be when LeBron is his dad. Like, it's a lot of stuff he overcame getting to USC and becoming the level of player he is right now.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't this a year ago, 2 years ago, for sure.
Yeah, and I hope he's able to resume playing if that's his desire to do, and have a great career, whatever that's going to look like. But just really tough to swallow.
It is. Once again, you guys are on the bench podcast with Bubba and Pink, home of sports, music, and mayhem. That will start a bench with Coach Pink and Coach Bubba, if you will.
Coach Bubba. You're on the bench on Sunday. The Ace League.
Hope that doesn't go on my record then.
What did I tell you when I beat you the first time?
Oh, man.
They all go on your record.
So now I'm 0-2. I need a win, man.
You do. Start scouting some 5-year-old games.
Yeah, I know, right? We're gonna talk some TBT. We're gonna talk some other stuff. I want to give a quick shout out to Royal13thebrand.com. One of our sponsors here. Again, that is Royal13thebrand.com. Use promo code Bubba Pink and you'll be fly this summer for sure. Promo code Bubba Pink for Royal13thebrand.com. I have a quick rant I want to get to. We actually got FAMU thing to get to. I don't know if you heard about that. And
with the
TBT.
video on the locker room and they suspended football. Yeah.
Yeah. We're gonna talk.
Might have heard a
about
thing
that.
or two.
That's right.
I wasn't in the video.
I want to get to a quick rant, and it's going to be very quick here because the news has already been out and circulating, and the brunt of social media has already passed us here.
Might be the blunt.
So my guy, he is my guy, Kodak Black. He did a song with an artist named 6ix9ine. Now, for people who know, 6ix9ine is notoriously known for being a snitch. He got caught up in some things off the mic, street stuff, if you will, and he went to court, and just singing like a canary. All right, and he's a drill artist, if you will, kind of upbeat, high tempo type artist. But when that situation, kind of went away and he got out, he still tried to make music, but a lot of different artists kind of shunned him and said, and really talked bad about him because he snitched. That's just not a thing to do in the hip hop culture. So we fast forward a few years since that incident, or a couple years, and Kodak has done a verse for this guy. Now, how this works in hip hop is when you want a feature from a guy, these guys not in your camp, not on your label, typically you pay for a feature. All right, if you want a guy on your song. All right, those prices can range depending on how hot that guy is at the time, right? So, if you caught Kodak Black maybe a year or two ago or 3 years ago when he really had that hot record out, his feature price might be at high. But right now, you could probably imagine Kodak Black features price being around $10K or something like that.
That's it?
Yeah, right
10K?
now, because he doesn't have any hot records out.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a streaming album out, anything like that, right? So you could probably catch him for roughly about that. So he does this song with 6ix9ine, and reportedly he gets $1 million in a very expensive car. And apparently it's really more than $1 million. It's like a 1.5 or something like that, right? And then he gets a lot of backlash from Boosie, a lot of fans, a lot of people on social media, a lot of this saying, "Oh, Kodak really let us down. Maybe he's not this or what we thought he was, and he's just in it for the money's not good enough. I would never take the money. This and that." That's just all a hawk of shit, man. That is a big pile of horse doo-doo. Okay, all of these guys in this, as we learned from the Atlanta thing when Young Thug went down, as we learned what they said, Gunna is a snitch. Let me tell you something, man. These guys are entertainers. If something actually does go down, 99% of them will fold. That's in their character. Just because they haven't been put in that situation yet doesn't make them any less of a fucking character. They're created characters. That's what they are. They're rappers and entertainers. They're not like real street guys that you go and you know from your neighborhood and from your corner, things like that. Rick Ross is a created character, like, you know what I mean? Like, he lied about being a probation officer. Like, these guys are these guys make up the fallacies, and they're really good with coming up with these rhymes and things like that to where you think they are something that they're not. You know what I mean? But they're just not. These guys are not, man. All of these guys are fucking snitches and fucking some of them may be rapists, some of them may be, like, you gotta stop putting these guys up on this fucking pedestal, and that's the one thing. You gotta stop doing that. That way you won't think any less of them when something goes down. You know what I mean? And Kodak fucking took this guy to the cleaners. You understand? He took this guy to the cleaners for 1.5 and a car. Like, that's a win.
I want more details on the car.
That's a win. Yeah, I actually had the name of the car. Wack 100 went on a recent podcast, and he's the one that put the entire ordeal together. Okay. As far as putting them two together and getting Kodak to even get on the song. All right, because he works with 6ix9ine, and Wack 100. A lot of people know he's a prominent business guy, but who comes from the streets and stuff like that. So, like, come on, man, and also Kodak's dissing 6ix9ine on the verse. It's like, you know what I mean?
That seemed to me the most interesting thing.
So I just don't understand what people say. And then this is the last thing. Like, you guys got to stop lying to yourself. You guys got to stop lying to yourself. You would do the absolute same fucking thing. All right? It probably took them 5 minutes to come up with this fucking verse for $1.5 million in the car. You're doing it, okay? That's it. You're doing it. That's the end of story. What the fuck are we talking about? You know, you I just don't fucking understand people anymore, man. I really don't.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's like, if he takes, I mean, I'm assuming, like you said, people were not lining up to put verses on 6ix9ine's music. So it's like, did he have to go above market value just to attract somebody to do this? And then you get sneak dissed on the end of the verse? Like, that's not really a win for him.
It's not.
You know, that's hard to fathom. But yeah, I mean, I do get, like, you probably don't want to associate yourself with a sinking ship if you really feel like this guy's just dead in the water. Nobody gives a shit about him. Like, why would you want to do the song even if the money's good? But the other side of that coin is the money being as good as it was makes this a story, draws more eyeballs to the story, more eyeballs to the song. And it really, at the end of the day, just reeks of a marketing thing.
And also more eyeballs on you. Yeah, because it's a lot of things you got to think about, too, because that's a good point. Because Kodak is at a point now where he hasn't been in the news, right? So that is a marketing thing is a thing. He hasn't been in the news. His last album was bad, to be honest. I'm a Kodak fucking stan. His last album was just bad. Just plain bad. And he doesn't have any hot records right now. He hasn't done anything stupid, and he normally every once in a year or two he either does something stupid or he goes to jail or he hasn't done any of that. So he hasn't been in the news. So this puts him in that for a marketing thing, like you said, okay. And then where else is he getting $1 million anywhere?
Yeah.
Like he's still fighting court cases. He still has all these kids. He still has bills to pay. Like where is he getting $1 million anywhere else? And that's another thing. Like this girl came on my post and was like, "Oh, but he already has enough money. He doesn't need that." You don't know what these guys have. Let me tell you something. Rappers don't have money like that. I know y'all think. Again, you guys see these guys on.
Neither apparently does Billy Blanks.
You guys see these guys. These guys don't have money like that, man. This is a mirage. Okay, these guys are signed to guys who are signed to guys that are signed to guys. Like these guys are not rich. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? These guys don't have Mbappe money. Okay, so Saudi Arabia money. So you got to understand that you can't be counting people's pockets. If he felt like he needed this 1.5 million or whatever it was, and the car, he can get a car to his fucking son and let that shit sit in the garage for 16 years or whatever. Like that's his prerogative and his team.
Okay, is it fair to say too though that Kodak has kind of such like an out-of-pocket brand with all of the controversy and the way he kind of conducts himself that this isn't really gonna like matter anyway?
This is not going to matter.
I mean,
like,
he's kind of a wild card guy anyhow.
He's a wild card guy. Another argument was, other artists are not going to mess with him now. He's not an artist who does a lot of records with other artists. You don't see Kodak on a lot. You don't see Kodak making an album with Drake or 21 Savage or like he doesn't. That's not something that he does. Okay, and then a few days after this, anyhow, Drake sends him an exorbitant amount of money and says, "Hey, you're my favorite rapper." So and I think Drake did that for a couple of reasons. Number one, that's like Drake does that with younger artists anyhow. Not send them a exorbitant amount of money, but just like encourages them, does songs with them, does music with them. To stay fresh and to stay relevant and all of that stuff too. But I think he did that just to show him like, hey, don't worry about this other shit. Get your money, do you?
Yeah.
Because he's a guy who has who's had backlash as well for other things, hip hop wise that he's done. So I just don't think it's going to bother him, like you said. I don't think business wise is going to be a hit at all.
Yeah, no, I think to my gut feelings, it's just a publicity play.
Yeah.
Get some money out of it, get some attention.
And the ultimate answer for Kodak, and it was going to be with this song or without this song. When's the next hit coming? Because you're overdue.
Yeah.
If a hit comes next month, who the fuck cares about any of this shit?
Yeah.
You're back where you need to be.
True.
Yeah. All right, so that's it on that. I wanted to say my piece. Now we're gonna move to this FAMU thing here, really quick here. So basically, what happened at FAMU? Let me play the video first, and then we'll talk about it.
All FAMU football-related activities have been suspended. Popular Florida rapper Boston Richey dropped his Send a Blitz video, and scenes took place in the football team's locker room, and the video contained graphic language. Head coach Willie Simmons released a statement on how it didn't align with the core values, principles, and beliefs of FAMU, and it could potentially violate the university's branding and licensing agreements, and Coach Simmons has suspended all football-related activities. We'll see how things unfold.
So as you can see, FAMU football players, they did a video with Real Boston Richey, who was a rising Florida artist. He's really pretty good and getting a big buzz, big fan base. And it was interesting idea to do this video with FAMU football players, but ballsy to do it in the locker room on the campus. And there's a few things to this. So they suspended they suspended the team activities for like a week or 2 weeks. They lifted the suspension, and now everything is back to normal. But and I like almost everything about this. You know, of course I'm Bethune-Cookman alum. I live for a day I can just down FAMU and appreciate and appreciate when they're not doing too good. But for this, they're kids, okay? They're kids. At the end of the day, they're kids. And kids are going to do dumb shit. And 2, I like how the coach just sent the message right away, like, hey, we're not doing this. You know, whatever this is you guys think going on, we're not about this. So this is what we're going to do here. And then thirdly, though, back to the music thing, like, so for this artist to connect, and he's, you know, connecting with FAMU, you know, at HBCU, he, you know, it's a win-win for him, and also for the team, man. I mean, for the team, you know, you get a little more IG followers. People are aware of you now that this made mainstream news cycle, and the song was vulgar, but that shit, it's 2023. All these young guys that are rapping have vulgar music, so and they're listening to them. So
I think this is stupid. I think this is
on the players' part.
No, this is stupid on the administration's part.
To suspend them?
This is hypocritical horseshit.
Yeah.
Because the reality is, like, the team listens to this guy.
Yeah.
This is the music they play. This is how they talk. And they had a freaking video in the locker room. Let it go. Just live in the moment. If I'm head coach of FAMU, I'm in the video. We ain't doing a video that I'm not in. That's how this is going down. 100%. The core values of the... Piss off, dude. Piss off. This is all nonsense.
I don't know. You can't let it. You can't let it fly.
I
like
what
that.
Fly, man. I mean, what are we letting fly? Some vulgar words? At the end of the day, that's what we're not letting fly.
I guess so.
There's bigger fish to fry.
But you're on you're on the campus, like it's a FAMU locker room. You know, so the point that you can tie it to the school, it's not necessarily, yes, it's the football team as well, but it's the school as well. Like, and you want to hold.
And when they invite somebody to perform for homecoming, that's attached to the school, performing on campus.
And I'm sure Boston Richey will be at the homecoming.
That's my point.
I'm sure
this is a non-story.
Yeah.
The student body would probably be thrilled to have Boston Richey at home.
I'm sure they would.
And so this is stupid, man.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous. This is... Usually I like to blame old white people.
This is old black people.
Old black people fucking shit up. Old black people acting white. You gotta relax.
Gotta relax. Take a chill pill.
I'm for real, man. This is stupid, man. Let people have some fun. I mean, if they did something crazy, if they were snorting cocaine off hookers' asses in the video, all right, there's a line to be drawn. But come on.
They didn't even have any naked girls.
That's what I'm saying.
They could have had the cheerleaders in there shaking their ass or something.
They didn't even go there.
No, they didn't.
They already drew lines for themselves.
Yeah.
Man, this is dumb.
You might have converted me over to your side, man.
As you should, man. Come over here where we make sense.
Dark side.
Yeah, dark side.
Florida ALS, man.
I love this. This was absolutely the best.
Shout out to Florida ALS. There's an Orlando-based team that is in the Florida TBT. Of course, we had them on the show. We had the coach and the GM on the show. What was that, about 2 to 3 weeks ago now?
Yeah, about 3 weeks
and
ago.
The tournament has taken place. They're playing for $1 million on ESPN. They had their first game in this tournament, yesterday, 2 days ago?
Yesterday.
And their next game, because they won that game in a blowout, their next game will be Thursday night, tomorrow night, on ESPN. I have Chris Warren, the starting point guard. They were asking him about why he wears number 69. He's been wearing it every year in the TBT, but he says 69 means nasty. And when I play, I try to be a little nasty.
This was so perfect. Like,
it's the nasty time.
As a guy who's worn number 69 in a game, like, this sums it up. I just love this. I saw this on on Instagram, I think it's the TBT IG posted
right,
it.
Yes.
And you're just like, I see the quote. Did he really say that? And then you slide to the next slide, and he's saying exactly that.
Yeah.
That's incredible,
It's
man.
classic, man.
That is incredible,
It's classic.
man.
It's awesome. And in the game, as you can see, 66-95, Fletcher McGee played an awesome game. And you know, the guys just look like – what I was worried about, honestly, was because you add these new members to the team, Fletcher being one of them.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, you've had success in this tournament for the past few seasons here, past few years, with this almost a very similar team every year. This is the most changes they've made to their team since they've been in TBT.
Pretty sure, yeah.
And I thought it would offset or something, but it looks like the train is still rolling, and it looked like a better, stronger team.
Well, but and that's the thing, when you're in these situations, you can't be afraid of change.
Yeah.
You can't get so set in your ways that, like, hey man, we just need to roll with these guys. Eventually the wheels fall off.
Yeah.
And if you're not proactively seeking to get better, trying different things, you're going to get passed over by other teams.
Yeah.
The biggest fear to me, like when you go into a single elimination tournament, no matter what you've kind of prepared to do, that first game is always there's a lot to that first game.
Yeah.
We got to get a good start, maybe get the lead. You don't want, you're at your most vulnerable in the opening game of a knockout tournament, regardless of opponent. You're internally at your most vulnerable because there's just so much unknown. It's whether it's new players, new location, and the other side of it, you really don't know what that other team is bringing to the table. That's one of those things too. And so for them to play as well as they did, and then an addition like Fletcher McGee, who had 14 points in the second quarter in about a 4 or 5 minute span when they really broke the game open, was absolutely critical.
Yeah.
But at this point, couldn't have been happier with the way game one went. They play Sideline Cancer, which by the seedings of the tournament is the 2 seed in that region. ALS Florida is the 3 seed, so theoretically, they may be an underdog, but I thought they showed very well the other day, and I can't wait to watch them tomorrow.
Yeah, definitely can't wait, man.
But I don't know Chris super well, but whenever I've been around him, he's super low key.
Yeah, he is.
And quiet, and for him to drop this quote was just solid gold, man. Solid gold.
No, he definitely is. So we'll definitely see what happens next game. They got, like you said, you see Niven posted there on the picture. Keith Cladden, Fletcher, Chris. They got a squad, man.
They had a couple of contributors from the ALS team, but so many of the guys, like Keith, Chris, B-Rob, Niven, Fletcher. They had Shaheed Davis out there who played for us in the blue team 2 weeks ago.
And now next game they're gonna have
Antonio
Blakeney.
Yeah. Kenny Boyden, I heard, is hurt though, and so he's been part of this mix, but he was unavailable due to injury. So, but yeah, it's been pretty awesome to see so many local guys that we actually know personally play so well in this stage. It's very exciting.
Yeah. Shout out to Cliff, man. Cliff joining the chat, my guys.
Yeah.
And then Kobe saying he said, "Be better, FAMU." UF brought Kodak into the locker room post game. And then a shout out to PJ, man. PJ, first time I've caught him commenting on here. Said we got a good matchup next game. Should win. B-Rob be hooping.
Yeah.
Talking about Florida ALS.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, B-Rob definitely be hooping, man. You know, we talked about him in the past, especially, you know, at that point guard position. How would you label B-Rob? Is he a scoring point guard or really like a?
No, he's a professional scorer. He's not a point guard at all.
Okay, he's just a professional scorer.
Professional scorer. Like that's it.
That's his
He
thing.
has a little bit of. There's elements of like Paul Pierce where he plays at his tempo and kind of baits you into playing at his tempo, and he's elite footwork, and you being in his space doesn't bother him at all. And to me, that's the best analogy I could think of is the elements of Paul Pierce with just if he's gonna walk, he's gonna walk. If he's gonna run, he's gonna run. But you're gonna do it on his time.
Yeah, some good scores there because Antonio Blakeney is a really good scorer.
High level score for sure.
And Chris Warren can get buckets. He can get a bucket when he
and Keith can go to work in the post when he needs to.
Yeah,
it's a well constructed roster. It's deep. I mean, Fletcher with the shooting, and Niven didn't have his best game, but he still had an impact. And again, he's that high variance guy. I mean,
he's a wild card. For them.
He could literally get rolling and score 20 in the next game.
That's a great wild card to have.
I do think. I mean, this is like him and Fletcher came into the game like around the same time, and that happened to be the stretch where Fletcher just put 14 in 5 minutes, and there was nothing. Niven wasn't doing anything wrong, but it was just like Fletcher was on at that moment. and to be fair, like. In one of these other games, they could come in together off the bench, and Niven could be the first guy to get something going, and then maybe he has 10 points in a couple minutes.
Yeah.
But again, it's like that first shift. Once Fletcher got going, it's like, yeah, we just need to feed that thing.
Facts.
Facts.
No. So yeah, they're gonna keep it going, and we'll be tuned in along the way. Hopefully, we can get one of them to call in, man, especially if they make it. As we anticipate them doing, make it to the Elite 8, Final 4. All right. I mean, well, that's been the show, man.
There we go.
We
Another tight show.
Another tight show. We got a few guests lined up next couple of weeks.
Who do we got? Can we drop any secrets?
Dropping any secrets. I know that we have got an anticipated guest, Keith Chapman, man. Keith Chapman is a guy who does a lot of work in the city, man. He's like a content creator. He interviews people. He has this NWO shot to PJ, who's actually on NWO in the GM5. Keith Chapman is kind of the he's the guy behind it, right?
Okay.
And so we're gonna have him on. I'm definitely looking forward to having him. D-Lot says she's going to come in.
I was talking to her today, too.
Yeah.
I encourage her to wear her workout clothes.
We might give her a little space so she can show us some things. That'd be fun if we could do that.
Would be.
We have who else? We have Rob Frank. Rob Frank is coming in. Rob Frank is a guy who does a lot of different events in Seminole County and things of that nature. He actually has a back to school drive too that he's organizing. That's the next thing coming up. So yeah, we got some people. Day wants to get on here, talk some trash.
Yeah,
we'll find some time for him to get on here. Yeah, man.
Sounds good. Well, we'll be with you next week for sure.
There we go. On the bench. See you.